Ringside News and many other dirt sheets have really been talking about WWE's PG era officially ending, but a lot of people are really still refusing to accept all of the PG era is officially over with. Well, this is going to be a story that I'm going to be touching base on. Again, Ringside News and many other websites have actually reported this. The link will be in the comments section down below. Check them out. Basically states the PG era concludes amid regime transition. And according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, these interviews and promos are seen as the symbolic end of the PG era in wrestling, while changes to TV programming are still under consideration. No firm decisions have been made. This could be influenced by the upcoming shifts like Raw moving to Netflix and NXT to CW, with input from broadcasters and sponsors. And you know what? I, for one, welcome this news because, like many of you, I have been very frustrated with the PG era. I think it's one of the laziest points of WWE. I've said before, and I'll say it again, when they went PG years ago, it was the beginning of the end for WWE because it became gentle, it became restricted, it became watered down. And while everyone's going to come at me and say, well, you know what? They had to basically stop all the more violent aspects of the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. You know, I get that. But it got to a point where a lot of what WWE has pushed over the last several years to be very, very silly. The longtime wrestling fans, they basically moved away from WWE because of the PG era. The PG era will never compare to the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and even the new generation before it. And granted, I know a lot of people that are PG fans. You can be fans of PG. That's fine. But a lot of what the PG era has offered is really not falling in line with what wrestling companies really should have been. I've said so many years when they went PG, it was one of the low points for professional wrestling. That is why many times over we were looking for alternatives. TNA that would become Impact Wrestling, AEW came along. Some of us went over to watching stuff in Japan. We always wanted to have an alternative to what was going on in WWE because a lot of what we were watching, it was hard to watch. When they went PG, I felt like it was a betrayal to the longtime wrestling fans, truthfully. Creatively, also, the writing got lazy. We got more of the same, constantly promos that really were watered down, matches that were watered down. Going PG was one of the stupidest moves ever for WWE. It really went against everything that the company was originally about. And when they had Triple H take over for more of a creative role, you kind of started to feel like hope was coming and that change was coming. We started to feel the changing of the guard and that maybe, just maybe, WWE would finally get back to what worked once. And I'm not saying that they have to really be all about the one generation of an age of wrestling fans. But WWE back then, before the PG era, let's be honest, it was for everybody of all ages. That was the best thing that made the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression eras symbolic. Everybody of all ages could watch it. Although back then, let's be honest here, WWE was defiant with the parental groups that were hammering WWE with complaints because they felt like a lot of their content was going a bit edgy, the sexuality, the nudity, the violence. But at the same time, regardless of that fact, it was still for everybody of all ages, technically. But when the PG era came along, it just felt like all of us longtime wrestling fans were given the boot. We were all shoved away. And that's really one of the biggest betrayals of professional wrestling as well as WWE. It was a dumb move for them to go be something that really didn't feel like something they should have been. The PG era for me was a letdown. Oh, don't get me wrong. There still have been some decent moments. I'm not going to be completely sour on it, but I'm going to say there have not been as many good moments as there was in previous eras of WWE. You cannot take something that was really designed to teach us that wrestling really was deemed to be real and turn it into a watered down, broken version of what it used to be. It never worked. And now WWE creatively is slowly getting better. And that's really something that I am pleased to say that is because PG is basically over. The era is done. I mean, there may still be elements of the PG era left behind and, as we go forward, but they're not going to go completely all back to the Attitude Era with the violence. But they're trying to make it to where we can still feel some elements of it to where we're not pushed away is what I'm getting at. This is definitely good news. I wanted to report on this yesterday when the story came out, but I was just really busy with stuff, so I never had a chance to do it. But now that I'm talking about it, I can tell you this is awesome news. And it's only going to get better for WWE. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below, guys. Do you think this is a good idea? Hit the subscribe button if you're brand new to the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you later.